Okay, we're gonna talk about equipment today. A lot of you guys have asked me for this. So right off the bat, highly requested, we're gonna do cutting boards. What cutting boards do I like? What do I recommend? By the way, I'm not being paid. I'm not sponsored by anything. So this is stuff that I actually use and I actually trust. So I'm not trying to sell you anything. So plastic cutting boards. These are great. I keep this one around because this is mainly what I do meat on. Like when I break down meat or poultry, I'll do it on this one. They're dishwasher safe. You can, use sanitizers on them and not have to worry about it. In restaurants, these are color coded. So, green cutting boards would be for things like salads or raw foods and so on and so forth. If you're at home, you probably don't need to color code your cutting boards, but a plastic cutting board is great. And then next is this one is a notrax rubber cutting board, and this one is my favorite. This is the one I use the most. It's easy on my knife, just like the wooden cutting board, and it also has the added benefits of a hard plastic cutting board. So it doesn't hang on to smells. You can use sanitizers on it, no problem. I will leave a link for this one. This one is my favorite. This is the one I use the most. Alright, the next thing is a KitchenAid stand mixer, whether you're doing dough. This comes off, you can put an attachment on here. You can grind sausage. You can put a pasta roller on here. Has all sorts of attachments, but these are mandatory in the kitchen. You can probably get by without one. Is it super convenient? Absolutely. A good blender. I love Vitamix. It's what I used in every single professional kitchen I've ever worked in. We always had a Vitamix. This thing is a workhorse. I've only ever seen one break, and that was because of the person that was using it. I wouldn't necessarily blame the blender. It comes with different attachments as well, so you can take this and replace it with like a food processor attachment. I don't really like those. I'd rather just have an actual food processor. They are a little bit more expensive, and I'm always going to say go by your price point. But if you plan on using your blender a lot, I definitely recommend having a Vitamix. Food processor. So I use this Cuisinart. If I had the one that I really love, I would have a Roku, but those are like $1,500 and I'm poor. So this thing has always been good to me. It's a little beast. I've never had to worry about it overheating. It's never jammed. It's been through a lot of hard work. And make sure you try to get the ones with different attachments. These come in handy a lot more than you'd think. So I have a fine grater, a coarse grater, and then of course fine slicing and coarse slicing. And immersion blender. These things are great for purees that don't have to be that smooth. They're great for making aiolis or mayonnaise or any emulsion on the fly. You can just do it in a little cup. And I use these for my sauces a lot. So like anything that's on the stove that I need to mount butter to, these are great. They'll emulsify a lot faster than using a whisk. And I also use them for things like foams. So probably stuff you guys don't need to worry about, but they're definitely handy to have around. A sous vide water circulator. I love doing things sous vide. There's so many different ways you can get creative with sous vide. It doesn't have to just be, a piece of meat or a steak that you sous vide. I sous vide oranges and then candied them inside the bag, but they retained all of their juice because they were cooked so gently. So, it's just all up to your creativity. I've made foie gras torchon sous vide. It's a lot faster. It's a lot cleaner. Instead of taking 3 days to cure in your fridge, you can just cure the foie overnight, and then you sous vide it, and then you just pipe it into these polyline bags, and you have like instant torchon. So I definitely recommend having those if you want to get creative and have a little bit of fun. A cryovac machine. So I actually don't recommend this model. I will link a model that I actually do recommend and I would use. The reason I don't have it is because I'm poor. But vacuum seal machine. So these are great for things like organizing your storage space. Instead of having a bunch of huge containers, you can literally just vacuum bag a little bit, and then you can stack them on top of each other. It saves you so much space. You can vacuum bag things, throw it in the freezer. It'll keep it fresh a lot longer. I do fermentations in bags instead of mason jars. And then another cool thing you can do with these is you can compress vegetables and fruit. So let's say watermelon, you put a bunch of them diced up in a bag, you compress it, it takes all the air out of it. So it concentrates the flavor of the watermelon because there's no more air. It's just the juice and the fiber. And you can get creative and add things like vinegar to the bag. And you can flavor watermelon like, you know, persimmon vinegar, and it'll taste like persimmons and watermelon. So you can get really creative with this as well. This one I'm going to put in the optional category for most of you guys, but a pasta roller. If you make a lot of pasta, these things are amazing. It'll save you time. You can roll most pastas out by hand, but like I said, if you're going to do a lot of pasta, these things are a godsend. I have a lot of fun with these things. So this side rolls out the pasta as thin as you want with this little dial here. And then this side will cut the pasta. So we have tagliatelle, and then we have spaghetti. So pasta roller would be optional, but I love them. So a salad spinner or an herb spinner. So this, I guess this would be categorized as an herb spinner since it's smaller. But the bigger ones are for, you know, more leafy greens and stuff like that. But these things are amazing. You wash all of your herbs, like you just put them all in here at the same time with some really cold water. It'll crisp them up, get all the dirt off of them. You put this lid on, and then you can spin it with the water in there, and that'll shake off all the dirt and send it to the sides. And then you can just take the herbs out, drain the water, put it back in, spin it again, get your herbs very dry, and they're ready to either serve or store nice and clean. I love these things. I always try to have one of these. An ISI container. So these things are great for the obvious things like whipped cream. You just put cream in there with sugar and shake it up and then charge it. Instant whipped cream. But these are also great for things like foam. So you take a puree, put it in there, charge it, and you can pretty much make any puree of foam as long as it's not too thick. And then also you can carbonate things in there. So if you put fruit in there and then charge it, like if you put a whole bunch of grapes in there and then charge it, you have carbonated grapes and so on and so forth. It's a really quick hack for that. And then I've seen people make like nitro cold brew and stuff in here. So you put cold brew in here and then you charge it and you just squirt it into a glass and you have nitro cold brew. Pans. So I really like carbon steel pans. I prefer them a little bit more than cast iron. I still do have a cast iron. I have a couple cast irons actually. I still have them, but I prefer these for things like searing. I can saute in there. The shape is a little bit better than a cast iron for sauteing, so that's one reason I like it. I've used these in restaurants for years upon years upon years. I trust them. I love them. And then the smooth surface gives it a little bit non-stick seasoning, a little bit more than cast iron, but the trade-off is the seasoning will come off faster if you don't take care of it. So the pores are smaller, so there's less room for the seasoning to stick. So this is something that whenever you cook with it, just apply a layer of oil, heat it up to maintain the seasoning. But I love these pans. And then stainless pans. So stainless pans of different sizes. I would do every single job I wouldn't do in this pan. So things that are very acidic, like tomatoes or anything like fruit that would strip the seasoning off of this pan, I would do in this pan. By the way, I made cinnamon rolls. And that should pretty much cover the essentials. Could you get by without those things? Yeah, absolutely. Are there more things that you could add to this list? Yeah, if you want to get specific about things, like if I made a lot of bread, I would probably invest in a bread proofer. So on and so forth. But I will leave links to all of these things in the description. And let's do a recap. I did one video on organizing. I did one video on tools, so like cooking tools, and this video is about cooking equipment. I'll put them all in the same playlist if you want to get a general sense on how to organize your kitchen and set it up a little bit better. And if you're still watching, thank you for watching all the way until the end, and as always, when in doubt, end the video.